Welcome to another episode of the Vital MX pre-game show, where we tackle motocross news from around the world, both domestically in the United States and internationally as well. And do not despair, we have heard your feedback and the name of this feature will be changing in the not too distant future, so stay tuned for that. First, this week, let's glance back to Thunder Valley, where Jet Lawrence was the big winner and surprised even himself.
For me on press day, it was pretty rough. So it was kind of it was a big question mark, you know. I think a lot of people had that too. But how it was shaping up during the week and I was looking, I wouldn't have thought of this. So super pumped.
Jet also told us on press day that his leg, shoulder and neck were severely beat up after the Hangtown crash, so it was truly remarkable that he did what he did at the third round. Of course, he is still only third in the championship standings, so it should take him a little time to be back in contention for the red plate, but smart money would be on that happening sooner rather than later. Speaking of interesting post-race comments from Thunder Valley, Justin Cooper told us that his deal for 2025 is not done yet. Hilariously, he remarked, "You would sign me if you were Yamaha, right?" Yamaha do have a bit of a situation on their hands. Of course, Eli Tomac will come back in 2025 and sit alongside Cooper Webb, which leaves Justin Cooper as the third rider once again. But as he explained in our interview, he's just in a precarious position at the moment because so many veterans are sticking around later in their career, which means there aren't many viable options outside of the Star Racing Semi. The end of 2025 should open up a lot more doors, but for now, expect him to re-sign with Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing as the third rider. Speaking of Yamaha, they announced after this video was released last week that both Nate Thrasher and Michael Moserman would be out for some time. Moserman actually crashed before round one of Pro Motocross, and bizarrely, it was only just confirmed that he would miss time. Moserman said in the statement, "It's super disappointing to get injured so close to the start of the outdoor season, especially feeling as good as I was. The team had put in so many hard hours to give me the best bike possible, and I hadn't felt that comfortable and confident in a long time. It's heart-wrenching for us both to have put in so much work and not be able to show what I can do at the races." Moserman has not had an opportunity to show what he can do at the races for some time, of course, as it has been injury after injury for him. The most recent crash led to fractures in Moserman's neck, so certainly not an injury to be taken lightly. We do have silly season news. Yes, that is starting to rear its head, which means that this feature will become especially interesting in weeks to come. Carson Mumford has signed for the Firepower Honda team on a multi-year contract. In the team statement, Martin Davalos, the team manager, said, "We told him he needed to move to MTF to make changes, especially if he wanted to see a change in his results. Without hesitation, he picked up his life and moved to MTF. That takes courage and discipline, and it showed me how badly he wants this. We have been impressed with his riding and his commitment." Yes, Mumford is already on the bike and training at MTF. The team confirmed that Mumford will also compete for the factory Honda team in the Australian Supercross Championship, as well as other international races this season. That is presumably hinting towards WSX. There is still no calendar for that, bizarrely. The statement also said that Firepower Honda may compete in select rounds of Pro Motocross and the SMX playoffs this year before entering 2025 Monster Energy Supercross, of course. The second round of the Canadian Championship was run this past weekend, and defending MXoN champion Dylan Wright had a horrific crash which has been circling on social media. The team confirmed in a statement that he will be out for some time. The high-speed crash caused injuries to the lung, ribs, heart, and shoulder, along with a concussion, the team wrote. Dylan is currently in a hospital and is currently out indefinitely. They said that they will update again on Dylan's health status when they have more information. Jess Pettis ended up winning the 450 class at the second round with 2-1 scores. He beat out Josiah Natsky, who went 4-3, and Aaron Tanti got third overall via 7-2 moto scores. Inconsistency seems to be rife up in Canada. Dylan Wright won the first moto. His crash occurred in the second moto. Not only do we have silly season news, we also have Motocross of Nations news for the first time. Yes, that too is going to start coming in thick and fast. Typically, European teams start announcing their lineups at the beginning of July, so we are literally a couple of weeks away before we are just listing team after team in this feature. The first team to be announced? Well, that was Venezuela. Yes, Venezuela. The team will be represented by Anthony Rodriguez, of course, Lorenzo Lecurcio, and their national champion, Daniel Bortolin. Lecurcio and Rodriguez have an impressive pedigree, of course, so you would think that all being well, Venezuela should make it into the main show at Matterley-Basin without much concern. Matterley-Basin is, of course, in the United Kingdom, and those fans were dealt a crushing blow at the end of last week as Ben Watson announced that he will miss the remainder of the 2024 FIM Motocross World Championship with a torn ACL. That was actually sustained back at the Grand Prix of Portugal in early May. The knee continued to give him trouble, so eventually he decided to succumb and have an MRI, which revealed one of the more nasty injuries that a motocross rider can try to overcome. And in more British news, Bobby Bruce, who is Jack Chambers' teammate on the DRT Kawasaki team, dislocated his shoulder in Latvia and then fell on it again in the second moto. Yes, he actually lined up and raced just hours after dislocating that shoulder. There is currently no update on his status for this weekend's event. Yes, another busy weekend of racing lies ahead. The FIM Motocross World Championship will hit the halfway point at Maggiora in Italy, one of the most historic tracks on the calendar, and the fourth round of Pro Motocross will be run at High Point, where Jet Lawrence, Chase Sexton and Hunter Lawrence will duke it out for the red plate once again. And then, of course, Hayden Deegan and Tom Vial, as well as Chance Hymas and Levi Kitchen, are locked into a fierce battle in 250 MX. We will be back next week to report on all of that, so thank you once again for watching and listening. Apologies if my voice is not quite up to scratch this week. I've been dealing with a sickness, hence why my pronunciations may be a little mumbled. And as mentioned off the top, the name of this will be changing very soon. So a lot going on. We will see you next week.